Hello and welcome to Mangasplaining, the show where we recommend great manga to folks who haven't read much manga before. Hosted by me, Deb Aoki, along with David Brothers, Christopher Woodrow Butcher, and Chip Zdarsky. Follow along with our show notes and reading lists at mangasplaining.com and at mangasplainingextra.com. Today is my turn. It's an apology pick. in that, when I picked my love mix-up, David and Christopher got very excited because they thought it was this book. And I felt really bad afterwards because they got very excited for the wrong reason. So my love story is, I can understand the mix up because it is by the same artist and it has the same structure. It's like my something something double exclamation point. But it is two very different stories. Two stories that are, both of them are very fun stories. They're hilarious in their own way and they make fun of certain shoujo manga tropes, but they don't do it in a way that leaves you out if you've never read shoujo manga before. It's just they're just delightful stories. This particular one, My Love Story, by Kazune Kawahara and Aruko, is about a guy named Takeo Goda. He is a big, burly high school student who is he's kind of like a judo athlete. And his best friend, Makoto Tsunakawa, is a handsome boy. They're best friends since childhood, and Goda is kind of used to the fact that he's always going to be second fiddle. He's always going to be the third wheel, that all the girls are going to love Suna. But in this story, his moment arrives when a very cute girl falls in love with him, and he can't believe his luck. Preparing for this episode, I reread it again, and I just couldn't stop laughing. There were so many moments where it was like discovering it all over again. So I guess let's just dive right into it. I'm going to start with world famous shoujo manga not quite fan David Brothers. But this was something you actually enjoyed, and you told me like, oh, this is the one a shoujo manga you actually like. So
yeah,
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I should have looked up when I first started reading this, but I think I picked it up pretty soon after it first came out, and that was sort of maybe my like proper entry into shoujo, like as an adult who will try things with an open mind. And I loved it. I felt completely called out in several different ways. I thought the jokes were really funny. The high concept of, the big burly guy not realizing that like the cute girl is into him, I thought was really good too. And yeah, I don't think I read the entire series, but I know I read the first few volumes. I watched the anime, and it's just so much more wholesome than literally everything else that I read. That is almost a character. Because what I love about this is that it's almost, a lot of romance stories, like the conflict is will they or won't they, or like how are they going to get together? How can they manage their relationship? With this one, they're basically together by chapter 2 or 3, and then the conflict is done by like chapter 5, and then it's like them against the world, or them against like their friends or preconceptions.
Yeah.
So it was really nice kind of to read a book that was mostly, it took some things for granted that I wouldn't normally expect to be taken for granted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I had a good time with it. Though I don't buy that Goda. There's a note in the very beginning from the writer where she's like, I want a guy who looks like the kind of guy that guys like. And that's how the artist came up with designing Takeo Goda. And I don't know if I buy that, but he's a good parody of that kind of guy. So
yeah.
He's kind of like a Gogol 13, but if he was a softie.
It's almost like if...
And 265 pounds.
Yeah, he was... Do you know Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho? He's like that kind of character, more than like the cool manly type. But he's drawn like a cool manly type. So there's like a fun disconnect in there.
I guess I'm kind of curious too. Like, so Chip, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was really sweet. Like David said, like the fact that that initial conflict was done with after the first couple chapters was a relief. Because when I first started reading it and I realized it was going to be like, oh, this guy doesn't realize that she likes him. And constant, like there's so many kind of misunderstandings in the first couple of chapters, and I'm just like, my eyes started to roll a little bit. I'm just like, okay, this is not for me. Like, I find those stories work better probably for a younger audience than an older audience, because the older audience is just like, you know it, like just talk about it, figure this out,
kiss the girl,
just kiss the girl, come on. I don't know why I became Italian for a second. Just kiss the girl. So like when the feelings were revealed and they actually just started dating, I was like, I was surprised. I was just like, oh, okay, wow, that's amazing. This is actually like not going to be what I thought, which is them constantly being ships in the night, not quite meeting, matching, hooking up, or whatever, or there's gonna be a love triangle, and I was prepared for that, so I was delightfully surprised when it wasn't that. And yeah, I found most of it just like super sweet, and every once in a while there'd be like a really funny drawing or a really it was mostly reactions. Most of the humor in this is reaction based,
Oh
like
yeah.
especially on Takeo's part, or like even though it's like a weirdly heartbreaking, the first scene with Suna's sister when
It's
she finds
super
out that
funny.
he's dating finds out he's dating someone, she's on like her knees, just like just tears. It's such a well drawn pose. I couldn't help but laugh a lot at it, even though it's like I guess heartbreaking on one level.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean I found it really sweet, and the revelation too that I really liked, which was also like sweet. Everything's just sweet in this. But Suna, when he revealed that, like, oh no, yeah, of course I didn't date any of those girls. Like, if they wouldn't want to date you and they would talk trash about you behind your back, like, why would I ever date them? It's like that revelation is just like, oh wow, okay, like you're not just like a weird cold guy who's just, kind of the distant one in the relationship. Yeah, that was super sweet. And like, yeah, all the stuff later on with like how he thinks she's pure and like they're misunderstanding on that level, and then she just really wants to like go hard and hold hands. It's really it's super cute. I quite liked it. This is the kind of book that I would absolutely recommend to like all of my like kind of like nieces and nephews, and like it feels like a nice wholesome book to suggest to like kids that are just like kind of figuring out relationships and crushes and love and stuff like that and friendship. Yeah, very nice.
I guess it's your turn, Chris. I'd love to hear what you think of this
Yeah.
book.
This is a reread for me. I actually, like David, read the first, I think, 4 or 5 volumes. My app said I only read the first 3, but I think I kept reading it when I was in the biz offices, and there was just copies of everything lying around for you to read. So I had like 4 or 5, maybe 6 volumes, and I think I think it's awesome. I think it's a great manga, and I really like the art, and it gets really different as the series goes on. But the thing, hearing you guys talk about it, yeah, we're not the target demo. Like, we're all in our and we are not like teen shoujo girl, reading Populace, but it's so strong and so fun that it kind of just propels you through it. And it's quick. It's a quick read. But it propels you through it. So like just the like inertia of that like really solid first volume gets you to volume 4 or 5 before you're like, yeah, this isn't really for me, but man, what a nice time I have spending time with Goda,
Yeah.
spending time with everybody. And it's been a couple of years. It's been like 4 years, I guess, since I read this volume, 4 or 5 years. And I just caught a lot more this time through. And in this, actually, and I liked it so much, I kept reading. I read the second and third volume too, just for giggles, because I was just like not not under the gun for time, which was really yeah. I kept catching more and more stuff, and there's some some actual gay stuff in this that I would love to talk about.
Oh
There's
yeah.
some stuff about like
Yeah.
self-perception that I would like to talk about as well, but I don't. We're still in the introduction phase of the podcast, so I'll skip it for now. But I will say, yeah, it's the kind of shoujo manga I think I could recommend to literally anybody, whether they say they like shoujo manga or not. And I think that's a really rare treat. I know Kim, who you guys know, TCAF Kim, well, Kim of a million other things, Love of Hill Kim, and I really bonded over this series because the expressions that Goda makes are just like so just like to kill me every time he has like a super solid or super sour or super serious reaction face to something that's happening. It is so funny. It is so good. All the Level of Hill girls loved this manga, and you can totally see why. So yeah, absolutely a banger in my opinion. So I'm so glad you picked it, and I'm glad it held up too. It's been 5 years, 5 real difficult years.
That's scary.
It's true.
Yeah, right.
What's really fresh about it is that the story's told from a guy's point of view, and it's told from Goda's point of view largely, right? Where he's like, he's so used to knowing that he's not he's not the prince, right? He's he's so used to being compared to his best friend, neighbor, who is all the girls go gaga over. So he's all of the things that he does, he's still good-hearted. He's still strong. All the men, his classmates in his middle school judo team are crying because he's graduating, and like, oh my
Yeah.
like, obviously they all love him, and his mom is a former wrestling champ, so there's those genes, you know. And I guess it's so funny because normally in shoujo manga it would be the homely girl or the ugly duckling and has the girl best friend who's pretty, and then then she gets a makeover and whatever, and then she feels pretty again. But this time it's like Goda gets no makeover.
Yeah.
He just is who he is, and you just kind of fall in love with him, and who he is and how kind he is. But it's like Yamato, the Rinko, the girl, automatically falls in love with him, and he can't believe it. And then later on, you think, oh well, maybe it's just her thing. But then soon as older sister reveals, I've always had a crush on him, and they're like, whoa, what? And they're going, oh my god, doesn't he have sexy hands and like all this stuff?
But she's still making fun of him at the same time. She's like,
Yeah.
does he still have that weird haircut?
Yeah. But he said like one nice thing to her once, and it's just like she's on him. That's it. She's in love.
Yeah.
I guess I want to ask, like, from a guy's point of view, did how this friendship played out and how he acted and to the these situations he's in, did that resonate for you?
Yeah, but it defied expectations again, and I think that was really cool. So one of the things I caught on this read through that I didn't is that his name's Goda. His name is Takeo Goda, and Goda was the name of the bully character in Doraemon.
Oh,
He's the
right.
with the orange shirt with the sort of, he's like the, I don't know, reverse Charlie Brown. He's got the orange shirt with like the black line on it, and with the black
Long
squiggly
beard.
line, and he's like the bully, like neighborhood, like puffs up big, like whatever character. And this actually, it does invert shoujo tropes. It inverts a lot of tropes in storytelling where the big guy is always the bad guy. The bully is always fat or big or whatever. And they made the big guy not only like a truly nice, decent, good person, but the hero of the story. And that just, like, speaking of someone who is carrying a few extra pounds, never happens. Except for Massive, the gay and manga anthology.
Yeah.
But yeah, for them to turn around and be like, yeah, no, this big, imposing, scary dude who's like 265 pounds and 6'6", he's actually the nice guy in this, and he's actually truly awesome all the way through. And they even named him after a bully character. It's like there was like, I think the writer was making obviously a deliberate connection, but was trying to say something there. And I thought that was really great. And then their friendship, I thought, was really good. And I remember on the first read through, I was like, oh, it's going to come out at some point that, like, oh, it turns out what's his name's actually in love with Takeo. Tsunewada is actually in love with Takeo. And it's like, maybe now reading it, it's not. It's like, maybe he has feelings. Maybe like Tsunewada is bi or demisexual or asexual even, but has like really strong feelings for Takeo. But that's not what the relationship is necessarily about. Even though the first volume ends with them kissing, which I think is amazing.
Well, they haven't yet. That's the thing. That's like,
oh no, sorry, like that last page where there's the scream.
Yeah.
Heavily implied. I actually that's why I went to the second volume, because I'm like, what? And it's like, yeah, they did end up practicing kissing through Saran wrap. They just didn't show it on panel.
I know. It felt like a cliffhanger. Like
no, we don't get to see it. Sadly, we do get to. Eventually, you get to. I looked it up. You eventually do get to see a kiss, but it's also pretty underwhelming. Yeah, so that's. I actually really liked that. The whole story with the blue ogre and the red ogre was like heartrending, but it's nice to have a friend. It's nice that these characters are friends, and even if there was a romantic relationship, I don't think it would ruin it. But I don't think, and I'm the guy that wants everything to be gay or queer at the very least, and I don't think story needs it. And I think I wanted it a lot the first time, but I didn't do it. Maybe that's what My Love Mix-Up was all about. Everyone was like, no, Takeo and Tsunewada should have gotten together. So the artist went and worked on another series where the two boys are like, all right, people seem to be into this. Let's give it a shot and see what happens, even though neither of us is fully interested. So yeah, that one I actually went and read second volume after we recorded the podcast. I think I mentioned it in the show notes. And I'm going to read the third as well. I actually bought it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So yeah, I liked that friendship. What did you guys think? Did it ring true?
It didn't ring true necessarily, but it's a type of friendship I like seeing in fiction.
Yeah, okay.
Like I've never had this kind of friendship in real life, and I'm sure it exists somewhere. but I've had, like close male friendships are sometimes on a different level, where
Yeah.
you're kind of both propping each other up and you do a bunch of stuff for each other that you never mentioned to the other person. It's just like how that goes. So that was partly why I was drawn into this, was that there's such different types that I could relate to in different ways. Like, I'm very oblivious as well when it comes to romance, and I'm also incredibly handsome, like Suna. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
But mostly, I like how matter of fact Suna is about how much he supports Takeo. Like, when we mentioned that he would never date someone who insulted his friend, I'm like, that is such like a baller position to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like it. I thought it was sweet in the same way the rest of the book was sweet, and like a good fantasy, I think.
Yeah.
A fantasy extrapolated from real life, maybe. But Chip, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest friendship in high school was with a hunk.
Oh,
Like
wow.
he was a great football player. He was the handsomest guy, and like it was one of those weird relationships where like I met him through a mutual friend who liked comics, but this other guy didn't like comics, and then my friend who liked comics moved away, and we were just kind of stuck together.
Yeah.
Like you're the football player, and I'm the comic nerd, but we really got along, and yeah, there was that kind of thing where like he kind of looked out for me, and I was very oblivious as well in high school because I was the shortest kid in my class, and I don't think any of his friends understood why we hung out, and my friends didn't understand why we hung out. And there is that kind of like protective quality in those relationships. Like he definitely protected me from like bullies and stuff, and I think he probably would have done the same thing in here if like he found out a girl was trash talking me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's those are sweet relationships, and yeah, so I did relate to this on that level, even though I'm not a giant hunk. I was a tiny boy who it was a little sad.
I think that Takeo and Suna both kind of defuse a certain type of guy for their audience as well. Like the aloof hot guy is always a danger. I shouldn't say always. I haven't read enough shoujo to say always, but in the shoujo that I've read,
in Mars, he cut the brakes on a molester's car. So maybe they are all bad boys.
Yeah, they're bad boys, let's say.
And like Takeo is, like Christopher was saying, the big bully character. And both of these are like, no, like sometimes these guys have good hearts. Like you can't really judge a book by its cover. But it takes it to such an extreme. Like when he catches the falling I-beam, and then it becomes like a group project for some reason.
Oh yeah,
that is nothing compared to what happens in Volume 2, where he saves people from a burning building. Not even lying.
Was that her friends?
Yeah.
I love that story.
Her friends had trash talked him earlier, and he was like, "Oh my god, Suna's right. Girls really do talk about me like this. This is awful." But then he still rushes into a burning building to save them, and saves them. And you're just like, he's impervious to fire because of the power of love. Like, it's so over the top and great. And it never pretends to be anything else, which is good. It's like, we're going to learn a lesson here today. And also we're going to have to make Takeo impervious to fire. And it's so great. It's so much fun.
He's like a superhero, right?
Yeah, it totally works.
Yeah.
Great. But Deb, what did you think? Like you said, this was a reread?
Yeah, I guess what I started to appreciate this on a storytelling and characterization level. How Kazune Kawahara develops a character and then like reinforces it and then reveals layers about them. Like Suna obviously could have just been a hot guy who was just just cynical, right? But then when it first starts out, this is, why are we friends? We're so different. And then as you finish volume 1, you go, oh yeah, we are good friends. And there's a reason why we're good friends. And then the sister comes along, and then the sister inserts this layer of, other women think he's hot too. Thinks Koda's hot too.
Yeah.
And then we discover like Rinko is not just like cute and sweet and shy. She's like saying, "Oh, I feel like he thinks I'm a goddess and a saint and an angel. When actually I want to hold his hand."
Yeah, she's filthy. She's absolutely filthy.
Fallen woman.
And she did all these things. She says, "Oh, actually, I didn't just ask the police station for your address. I actually recognize your uniform, and I asked around to find you. And I actually left my phone at your house on purpose because I wanted to see you again."
Such a smooth move.
It was really cute, So it's like, oh, she has more desires, or like she really thinks he's hot, and she's trying her best to give him so many hints. I like
Yeah.
you, I like you, I like you. And then because he's so used to not being the lead character in any romance, that his default perception is like, oh yeah, here we go again. All the girls will love my hot friend. But you know what? He's my friend, so I'm gonna support this. He finally has something nice to say about a girl. So I'm gonna support this. So he's so used to this default, he can't see what's happening. So it's cute. But also, like Chip was saying, I was so relieved that they didn't stretch it out over many volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been, especially so that first chapter was 100 pages, and they really got a really good arc in that first 100 pages, where it's just, the story's at a good point when it ends, and it's at an even better point when the first volume ends and the second volume ends, and then it really is just like David was saying, now it's okay, we've got this relationship, and it's kind of us against the world a little bit, because we're mismatched in people's eyes. Super cute girl, giant hulking gorilla guy that's like twice her height. And I think that that's such a weird, wonderful look at shoujo, where it's not just will they, won't they for infinite volumes, but okay, they did, and now they have to learn how to be a couple, and how they have to learn how to be young people who are in love. I kind of love it.
Yeah.
It's like a very wholesome Bonnie and Clyde.
I'm actually kind of stunned that they kept it going for 13 volumes, because I actually would have been almost satisfied with 1 or 2 volumes.
Yeah, same. Like, those kids are going to be all right by the end of volume 1, I feel.
Yeah.
But when he crawls out from under the bed after she confesses love by accident directly to him, I thought that was one of the funniest things of the book.
Oh God, yeah, that was
just the
that was
setup
awesome.
for it, the drawing of him looming under the bed. But it reminded me of something that Chip said on the My Love Mix-Up episode. I'm pretty sure it was My Love Mix-Up, where he said he was not surprised to find that the book had a writer and an artist because of how some of the jokes were playing out. And I think this one being so reaction-based is a very writerly thing. Because there's not a lot of setup for physical comedy, or pretty much there's joke parts, I would say, that hit. And not in the bad way. This isn't really a complaint. It's just sort of, you can tell when the artist really hits a nice stride with the humor, but it's always kind of the same kind of reaction humor. Oh, I can't believe this. Oh my gosh. And then someone pulls a face.
But it always works.
Yeah, it does always work.
Yeah.
When he's saying you really are like the blue ogre.
I love that page turn from when they catch the groper and at the police station, and then he punches in, and then the next page is, go to at home in his pajamas because he got suspended. It's like,
yeah.
That was so adorable.
The cop's face behind him. Well, the thing that Chip said about a book that has our something in the title was Our Dining Table, and he was when you were talking about the gay romance one about how they cooked, the one cooked for the other because they couldn't express their feelings for 200 pages, and then they did, and it was great. Yeah, that will they, won't they is such a huge part of this whole genre within manga, and not only that, but this whole genre of so many romantic things. I mean, we're all old. We all remember moonlighting, right?
I was literally just about to say moonlighting. Somebody mentioned that recently about how to avoid the pitfall of that, because moonlighting went downhill once they got together.
We're together, yeah. And but they finally did it, and it was the episode where it was oh, I guess they will, and everyone watched it. Everybody watched it. The whole of America, maybe. Who was?
Because it was a crazy hour. It was full penetration.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Fluid.
Wait, I don't remember that.
A lot of fluid for CBS.
Must have been
Chip filled in some blanks. But I think that anyone who's tried shoujo, and I mean, we've all heard about how unfulfilling Boys Over Flowers is from Deb multiple times. Anyone who's found shoujo unfulfilling because it's that, I think that this is such a fresh take on formula. And again, as we pointed out, playing against formula as well. But the big takeaway on this reread was, and this is maybe because of stuff that I have been going through or have gone through, it's the idea that you aren't lovable is so front and center in that first 100 pages, and maybe through the first 2 books or so. But the idea that Takeo never even considers that she could like him, or she would even, thank him for what he did, because he's constantly doing things for other people, And if Sunawata's, kicking around, he's the one who gets thanked. And that's a running gag, a trope in the series. And I love that they didn't keep that going. That they were like, no, at the end of this first volume, or at the end of this first chapter even, you deserve love. That's huge. That's huge for storytelling, let alone for shoujo manga. But it's definitely huge for shoujo manga, where it's like that mystique has to keep going. You know what I mean? Even Mars, which is kind of our go-to of like shoujo manga we all liked, kind of unreservedly, there's still a like, she's totally into him, but you kind of get, he's really cool and aloof, and you're never quite sure if he's like off with her. Pardon my French. David, please sparkle that since this is a shoujo episode. But like this, it was just like, no, she really likes you, and you have to figure out how to deal with that. And that's like, man,
And how to accept
somebody
that
needs to
love,
read
right?
that. I needed to read that maybe
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago. Maybe I wouldn't have heard it if I had read it. I wouldn't have gotten it. But it's okay for people to find you attractive and to be loved. And man, what a good message to have in like any kind of comic.
Yeah, because he didn't need a makeover at all, right? Like the stereotypical shoujo manga is like, oh, she magically lost weight, or she took off her glasses and got contact, and she got a new haircut, and all of a sudden she's lovable. It's like, no, he from beginning to end of this series, he is the same looking guy.
Yeah,
and he expresses himself loudly and unreservedly. She's so shy and cute, but he's like, I could relate with that, right? Because as Japanese women go, I'm loud. I'm loud, and I get super excited about stuff. Like, remember the time we were at Comedia, and then like I saw the little cat miniatures, and I was just
you did shriek.
Yes. They were all like, what the hell is wrong with this woman, right? But they were delighted because I was just so full of glee. Like,
you were at that table for 25 minutes.
I loved it so much.
I was like, I'm gonna go play Pokemon over here for a second. I caught a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah.
The idea that someone might actually like you is a hard thing if you've got low self-esteem, or if you grew up not being conventionally pretty. And for a shoujo manga to take the tack that like, oh, you're good actually. You're gonna be okay. That's, man, I want more stories like that, especially for young people.
It must be really hard for a manga creator to do what they did here, make that decision to like tie the bow on it really quickly.
Yeah.
And then kind of see where else they can go with it. Because like so much of this job is like, how many volumes can you get out of this? If this becomes a hit, how long can you take this?
Yeah.
Like, in contrast to like working for Marvel or something, where the characters are perpetually at a certain age, so like you cannot actually advance them too much, or else the illusion of it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the series ends with the characters graduating high school, and just as it begins with them graduating middle school and going into high school together.
Yeah.
I won't give away too much because that's outside of the purview of this episode.
But they're still holding hands.
No comment. I'm not gonna spoil
right.
it. I'll spoil it for you during the break when the sassy music plays.
All right.
The holding hands joke killed me, by the way.
Oh my God, yes.
It's been several years, but I've definitely been on a date where someone was like, "Can you please hold my hand like a girl?" And I was like, I am screwing this up so bad right now.
And then you used your giant paw to like completely encapsulate her hand, like
exactly.
And then have to shift your bodies around so that it looked like you're holding hands in a natural way.
Yeah, very awkwardly.
Yeah. Oh,
but
I love that.
Like Christopher was saying, like, I think Takeo's very relatable. I think he has a lot of like insecurities or whatever that are pretty easy to identify with. And like the constant relentless, like, no, it's okay that people like you, and his like exuberant reaction to it every time. Like there's a chapter where he runs into his friend's house and he's like, "Tell me how to use emoji." And it's super funny.
I love that chapter. It's so good.
I made the same joke on Twitter, so apologies to all the Mangasplaining diehards who follow everyone. But Dave Bautista was talking about how he wants to do rom-coms. Like he doesn't feel like he's a rom-com guy. And I was like, he would be perfect as Takeo in My Love Story. Like the charm, it would be horrible casting, but the vibe of that character is perfect for him. Like he's a big, nice guy,
Yeah.
And it's rare to see that. Usually the big guys are silent or kind of mean or, more of a type. But here he's all of that, but he's like using his height and his imposing whatever for the good of everybody, basically.
And he's insanely well liked. You go through and you like at school, like he has a ton of guy friends, clubs, all that kind of stuff. He's getting lots of he's the hottest guy in school is his best friend and has always got his back, even before you realize that he's been like dumping girls who were shitty to him. Like, and he still can't internalize that someone might. And man, did that ring true. Like that hit like a ton of bricks.
Confidence is there's different angles, you know? So some people are like amazingly confident artists and zero luck in love kind of a thing. And I think this is one of those where, you know, he jumps in a river with all of his clothes on and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
But it's real cute because then like he shows up wet to the date and he goes and they say, oh, well, yeah, he's wet because he just jumped in the river and saved the kid. And then Sprinkle goes, oh, of course he did that.
Like it's so validating.
And I love the catchphrase, like every now and then and in throughout the series, he just goes, I love her.
Man.
It just cracks me up. Like I guess what I also loved in this first chapter, in this first volume, was all the commentary from both the writer, Kazune Kawahara and Aruko. And you can see their glee writing and drawing something that's so different than the usual shoujo manga. And they're talking like, oh, and then the editors at the shoujo manga manga were just laughing at the character drawings, you know? And you can feel that joy and glee and just they're having fun. Like they're not just
it's
you know?
It's clearly a good working relationship. Like they're into this.
Yeah.
I was like, what was the series that we were reading where like the artist like fired the writer or something?
Ajin.
Oh, Ajin.
Yeah, this isn't that.
It'd be amazing if it was.
There's that part on page 107 when she's like Aruka's talking like when I draw macho men making faces, I find I'm making the same face myself when I'm drawing. It was so cute.
I want to see all of her reference.
Right? But all of her camera selfies where she's it was so good.
The opening letter from the writer where she starts out with the thank you to the artist, I thought was really sweet. And I think this is partly like me being like a Western comics kid first. Like a lot of times artists get the short end of the stick in comics. And for this one to just be like, look, I love this artist. I love what she does. Here's all these ways that she amazed me before we even started the series. It's a really cool vibe. I was just reading Road to Perdition by Max Allan Collins and Richard something. He's got a longer name than I forgot.
Oh, you forgot the artist name?
I did. See, case in
Wow.
Writer gets around a lot. The artist is not. Maybe I can fix it in post. But in the forward to the second volume, Collins is like, I really wanted to work with Steve Lieber and a couple of other artists like Joseph Rubinstein. Like they really brought a lot to the series. And he says that the artist kept him on track for the story he wanted to tell. Like it's not just like, here's my story pouring out of my brain. It's like a back and forth, two people responding to each other. And they seem so excited to work together that I think it adds to the charm of the book for sure.
Yeah.
Richard Piers Rayner, by the way.
There we go.
Rayner.
Yeah. I could have just told you that off the top of my head, but yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's like Kazune Kawahara is a manga artist in her own right. She drew High School Debut, which is another personal favorite shoujo manga of mine.
And tremendously popular series.
Yeah, it's really great.
Does it look like this at all?
No, the art is, when you see that art, when she's writing that letter, like, I'm so grateful to be working with Aruko, like that's her drawing of Goda.
Oh, okay.
That's her rendition of what these characters would look like if she drew them. And you can kind of see that she doesn't have a good take on Goda that would capture the humor.
Yeah.
And I think she knows that. But like her other series, High School Debut, is one of my personal favorites because it's about this super tomboy girl who decides that she's going to go to high school and she's going to get a boyfriend and it's going to be awesome. But she's such a klutz as far as like fashion. But she's plowing it out of pure determination. Like she thinks, it's like sports, okay? I'm going to put all my effort into being the best high school girl who's going to get a boyfriend. And then she just fails over and over again. And then she meets this super hot guy who's like saying, I'll teach you how to do this.
Nice.
It's a super funny and lovable book. But when I saw that first drawing, I thought, I think this was a good decision to have Aruko draw this.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense that the writer is also an artist.
Yeah.
Because the pages are they're not overwritten. You can tell, like they're definitely leaving a lot of room for the artist to like try things and have fun. Like I'm looking at the page where Yamato walks away from Suna and his sister, and then like dashes away, bows, dashes, trip, gets up, dashes away. And that's a 9-panel page. Like that's a dense page, and I think you can see that they probably like kind of figured that out together, or the writer just like, okay, and then there's a beat of her falling over, and just go for it. Pace it how you want to, because it's a very it's a really fun little visual gag on there. Yeah, it's such a good combination.
I would love to
And
see.
she stands up so straight, like after she falls down.
Yeah.
that makes it even funnier, you know?
Yeah, it's really funny cartooning. I was gonna say one of my other favorite parts of this was, I don't know if they're text. I think they're emails, because there's always the re ... but the emails between Yamato and Gota, where hers are like, "Good night, heart, Takeo. I wonder if you're looking at the moon and the stars. I still haven't seen a shooting star emoji. I'd like to watch a meteor shower with you someday. Star hearts. Re, I'd like that too. Good night." Like, it's just so...
I live in fear of being that guy.
yeah, but you know, like the contrast between his internal monologue about how she's everything to me, I love her, and then like, yes, I agree.
So relatable.
It's really funny. Yeah.
That precipitates the how do I do emoji chapter that David talked about.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, he looks at the two messages and he's like, oh, I've made a huge series of mistakes. Please teach me how to use emojis.
It's really good.
Oh, and it's this kind of idea of two people in love that get together. The first time I encountered it in manga was a manga, I can't remember the artist's name, but it was called Love Roma. Del Rey published it back in the day. It's a 5-volume series where the characters get together in the first chapter because they're finally like, yeah, I actually like spending time with you too. Okay, let's do it. And they're in middle school and all their friends are like, hooray. And then they're just like, what do we do now? Because they're both like very, like, I don't know that they're actually autistic, but like that's kind of how both characters are written. So the whole book is actually their huge, ever expanding friend circles trying to tell them how to date one another.
Wow.
And it's really funny. Like, it's really, really good. The art looks a little bit like Brian O'Malley's art, actually, too. It's a wild book. And it's totally out of print. Sorry, actually, to anyone who's listening.
A knife in the back at the end.
Yeah, knife in the... And it's Del Rey, too. It didn't even get brought over to Kodansha.
The Butcher Strikes.
Unavailable. I will say, bringing up Manga in the Rose of Versailles episode, I actually did look that up. You can go get Manga. So that's today's early shout out. Manga by Frederick Schott.
Nice.
It's technically out of print, but go buy it before all the prices go up on Amazon. Get the Mangasplaining bump.
Oh, God. Yikes. So let's get some closing thoughts. Let's start with Chip.
I liked it. Next.
Done.
I'll go next. I've been thinking about Slam Dunk a lot over the past month, ever since I saw the movie. And something I liked about this is that, and relating to Slam Dunk, in Slam Dunk, the main character, Hanamichi Sakuragi, opens the series by getting rejected by his 50th woman. Like, he's in high school. And, like, it crushes him, but then he gets back on the horse. And this is almost the same kind of, like, character arc of, like, learning that you can be loved, learning that you're good at things, that, like, you have a life beyond what people have kind of boxed you into, that Takeo had in My Love Story. So it's really deft writing. Like, it's pulling from so many different influences. It's, like, remixing so many different things that there's a lot to enjoy here, even beyond just the, like, really good comedy. And really good cartooning, too.
Now I feel like I should have said more than I like it.
Would you like to add?
No, that's it. No,
Okay.
David spoke for me.
Yeah, we talked about it before the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, how about you?
So the gay stuff, I want to just touch on that real quick. So it's kind of played like Sunawada, who's like the hot friend who keeps turning down girls. And we find out that he turns down girls because they're usually mean to Takeo, but keeps turning down girls and wants to like help Takeo out, but doesn't always want to like. And you're like, is he leaving these guys alone because he doesn't want to see his friend in love that he's secretly in love with, or does he just want to give them their space to like find each other? There's like a thing going on there that's actually really interesting. And what I like about the series is that it's not queerbaity, which basically means that like oh, is it going to be a BL thing? Are you going to want to read this because you're so desperate as a queer person for any kind of representation whatsoever, no matter how bad it is? And in the second volume, right in the beginning, they just cut that shit off at the knees, and they're like, "All right, Takeo has to buy Rinko a present for her birthday. He has to get a job. He's 6'6" and 265 pounds. He goes to work at a muscle cafe." Where it's like he's a waiter serving people that want to come to. It's kind of like the opposite of a maid cafe, but not quite a butler cafe.
Yeah.
And it's
They have ladies' muscle cafes now, by the way. It's like a rising trend.
oh,
Ladies' Muscle Cafe?
there
Yeah.
are gay men's muscle cafes as well. And if you look at the panel where it introduces him in his like frilly little apron that he's wearing in the muscle cafe, the two customers come in and go, "Oh, he's just my type," are both men, and the other guy sitting there at the bar is a man. I actually just watched the whole thing on muscle cafes and how a lot of straight dudes who like to work out at the gym work there because the tips are awesome.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to the show notes. Tokyo Bottom on YouTube. Shout out. But so he's 16 and he goes to work at like a predominantly homosexual themed cafe because he's a big muscly dude. And it's not played for laughs. It's not played to put down the gays. It's not played like a lot of other stuff it could be played. It's just like, yeah, there are gay people in the world and Takeo's cool working there. The end. Like that's how far it goes there. And it really diffuses a lot of the potential not good, possible anti-queer feeling stuff that could arise from a situation like that where you've got these two best friends. It's just like, nah, gay people are existing, that's cool, but that's not what this guy's doing at this point in time. That's great. It actually also, and that was something that I don't think I knew about those kind of cafes in Japan. I didn't really get what that joke was in the second volume the first time through. It was just like, oh, he's working in a muscly space, whatever. But now that I know that those kind of things exist and I've watched this like little mini doc about it, I'm like, oh, that was actually really smart of the creators to put that in there and like be cool to gay people because they didn't have to, because Lord knows it's not like the editors were telling them to sort it out. It never happens. The other and on the never happens front, and this is like maybe more show notes material than main podcast material, but whatever. We're making good time today. There's a gay Studio Ghibli movie, and it's called Ocean Waves, and it was the one that was the direct to TV movie.
Wow.
Studio Ghibli was like their first movie that wasn't going to have any of the founders as directors. They gave it to like the young people that were there in their 20s and 30s, and they're like, okay, go make a movie. And they made a movie that was about two guys in high school where one boy is completely devoted to the other boy, and the other boy sort of makes a move, like this girl, like, you know, they have a thing where it's like it looks like he's going that way, and then the other boy gets super jealous and they have a physical fight and they don't end up talking until high school reunion 10 years later. And like one of the last things in the movie is the line is, "I was jealous," and then it like he's like, "What were you jealous of?" And then you don't see his mouth moving. It's shot from behind. It's like, "I was jealous because I was in love with Rinko, like the girl the whole time, and you went after her and got her, and so I was jealous." Turns out that was not what the line was supposed to be, and Studio Ghibli didn't want to make a gay ass movie in the 90s. And I heard about this apocryphally,
Sure.
from some gays, some manga gays, maybe 10 years ago, and I was like, I'd never seen Ocean Waves. I tracked it down, I watched it. It's really boring. It's maybe not a great Ghibli movie, but yeah, they did a feature. A couple people did features on it on YouTube Doc, and then Vice had a thing on it a couple of years ago. And I don't think anyone can officially say Ghibli had it changed at the last minute. But yeah, there's always been like potentially queer media that just sort of gets, you know, buzzed out at the last second. And it really felt the first time I read this that was what this was going to be. And on rereading it and seeing how much like care they actually put into these characters and these relationships, it made me feel really good about this book, like above and beyond how good I feel about this like funny, like well drawn, neat little manga. And that was really nice because that's not always a given. So yeah, if that's something you're worried about the will they, won't they, you know, kind of a thing. You're worried about the potential gay stuff. I think you don't need to. I think you could just enjoy this as like a really nice book. Although, yeah, there are definitely people out there that still really wanted Suna and Takeo to get together at the end instead, or maybe in addition to ethical non-monogamy for everybody.
That's true about all manga, right? I mean, everyone has a couple they prefer.
Yeah, everyone slashes somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody loves somebody sometime.
I've blanked out for the last 5 minutes. I've been thinking about ladies' muscle cafes. I'm fascinated by the idea because it's like Hooters if they could murder you,
Yeah.
That's kind of literally
Which is all you've ever
actually.
wanted, right?
which is all I've ever wanted.
But Hooters, they do want to murder you in their head.
Well, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't look like it.
Oh my god. I've never been, I never will.
Yeah.
What? You just gotta... Sorry, the wings are great, and I just tell the first time I can possibly drop into conversation that I am super gay, I do, because I don't want to be you people at that restaurant. That's all. That's a huge problem. But then they're like, "Oh, thank God. Okay, we're good. You're just here for the wings and the kitsch."
I can't do Hooters, and I cannot do strip clubs.
Oh yeah.
But I can do strip clubs when I'm with a group of ladies. Like I was in charge of a bachelorette evening.
You were in charge of a bachelor party where there was...
I was in charge of a bachelor party, yeah, for you. That was a great night. I have no problem going to the gay strip clubs. I'll never forget the guy who came out in the leather trench coat in the full Neo getup and used the stripper pole like Neo did in like Matrix, where he puts a pole around and he swings around and kicks all the Agent Smiths, except his dick's flying. It was one of the most beautiful things.
This was such a family-friendly episode until I opened my...
I know. It was such a wholesome manga, and here I am talking about Neo dick.
Cut it off after me. Cut it off after me. This will be the Patreon exclusive version.
Mangasplaining after dark. Yeah. I could go on about that, but I won't. Clearly, I need to not.
Deb, what were your final thoughts?
Yeah, Deb, what were your final thoughts? Neo stripper dick or anything else? Because that's all I can think about now.
I'll save my Hooters story for the show notes. Let's just put it that way.
Perfect.
Sorry, I got one more thing about that night.
Please. Yeah.
Because the whole time, because I arranged this, it was for Chris and Andrew for their bachelor party, and the whole time watching Neo and all the strippers, I had a hot cop costume underneath my clothes because the whole plan was I was going to take my clothes off, go up, and be the hot cop on stage. And the staff would not let me do it, so I had to wait till we went to karaoke later to strip down to my hot cop outfit, which I still have a photo of me and Andrew, me in the hot cop outfit. We can put that in the show notes.
Please do. It was everything I've ever wanted from a bachelor party. It was perfect.
I had no idea that you were such a good bachelor party host. I'm so impressed
God.
now.
I rise to the occasion, so to speak.
Indeed.
Oh.
Yeah, well.
And anyways, this has been my love story.
Oh my God.
Super good. Deb, what's your final thought?
Deb, you got to have some final thoughts. We got
to go, quick.
Okay, I will say that I was reading my love story again this morning before the show. I was with my travel companions. We're here in Japan, and she just looked at me like, "You're just laughing all the time, or you're making this huge smile, and I'm dying to know what you're reading." And I kind of says it like the fact that I could read this again and find so much joy in it, and realize that the creators also felt a lot of joy creating it, makes it, like, oh yeah, I don't, people always ask me for a manga to recommend for kids under 12, right? And they're few and far between. And this one really deserves to be on the list. It is fantastic, but it's also fun for adults because it's just so well crafted and funny and heartwarming, but not heartwarming in a schmaltzy way. It's just kind of got the whole package. I don't know if anyone would read all the way through all 13 volumes, but just reading volume 1 was just an endorphin rush. It was just like, oh, this is making me so happy.
Yeah.
That was my love story. We will be back with our rest of our stories and perhaps recommending some new stories to read after the break. Stay tuned. And we are back. And it is that magical, magical time when we are going to inflict 3 more books on Chip. Let's see what kind of strange and wonderful things we are going to throw in front of him next. I'm going to throw it out there and just say, who wants to go first?
Pressure.
Well, since I made everyone pick books this week, we're doing it a little early to catch up because we like to give people some advance notice so they can check books out of the library and whatnot if that's their deal. And something dropped on the internet this week that is made a lot of manga fans very happy. And it is the trailer for the Netflix adaptation of Pluto by Naoki Urasawa and Tezuka-san. And Pluto is a manga that we've been bullied about not recommending until now, actually.
Wow.
Like, we should be reading. Why haven't you made him read Pluto yet? And honestly, my answer was always it's an 8-volume series, and it's like a really, really good 8-volume series with a beginning, middle, and end. And that's kind of a rare thing in manga. It doesn't feel like it went on too long. If anything, felt like it could have used even one more volume. But yeah, and I was always like, I don't know how to recommend it because I'm always kind of notorious for recommending 5 books that's actually one book or vice versa. You know what I mean? So, and it's a strong first volume, but boy, does it just build and builds and builds as it goes. But we were having a conversation just before the podcast started about how, and we mentioned it on the Rose of Versailles episode, that we couldn't just jump into Rose of Versailles, even though we wanted to do it in the first season, because it takes, if it's your first manga, it's a weird one. It's like from the 70s, things are different now, sort of a thing. But now that I think we've read so many manga, I think maybe Chip would be willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, even though that, like, normally I'd be like, let's read the first 2 volumes. But I actually think that first volume on its own is a really good beginning to a procedural. It's a kind of a So Pluto is a police procedural in a world where there are functionally identical androids to humans. You can't tell who's who. It's a little bit Blade Runner in that way. But then there are actual robots as well that look like robots and choose to look like robots. And it's actually a sort of contemporary, updated, let's say even Watchmen-esque updating of an Astro Boy story from the 1960s. It's called The World's Strongest Robot, or Greatest Robot in the World, however they're going to choose to subtitle it. But and this isn't a knock on Watchmen, it's really good. And it's not about making a children's character grim and gritty. It's about getting to the core of what Astro Boy was about, which was what makes somebody human. Mm-hmm. Astro Boy has all the memories of his creator's dead son, and he loves and he feels, and he's rejected by his father, who realizes he'll always be this imperfect metal clone. And it's about what makes someone human. And it's such a good, deep idea that is so really thoroughly explored in the Pluto manga that I can't help but recommend it, especially now that Netflix released a 4-minute preview of it, and it looks good. It looks so good. I think people are really going to like it. Like, I hope it's as good as it looks from this preview. But yeah, I wanted to do this for a long time since series 1. I think we're at a good point in the podcast where we could recommend it and give it a shot. So yeah, Pluto Volume 1. But if you like it, or you're like on the fence, try out Pluto Volume 2 as well. And that is my recommendation for you. Oh, there's no digital either. So sorry.
What? Oh my God. You know I live on a remote island.
Aren't you going on a cross-country Canada tour to comic book shops? One of them might have a copy.
In May.
Oh, well then you're going to have to do something
Small
about that.
hiatus for Mangasplaining. Sorry, folks.
Chris, what an amazing way to just drop right into last place.
I'll send a copy to your remote mountain home.
Yeah.
I'll have it sent.
I'll basically throw in there that I think we need to read the original story as well.
Yeah, it's only like 100 pages or something,
Yeah,
right? Like,
it's a short story.
All right, yeah.
I think
Sorry. We're reading the original Astro Boy story?
Mm-hmm.
And Pluto Volume 1.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's still only like 270 pages. It's fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. And the Astro Boy story is available digitally. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a beautiful crumb for me. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, I did see the Pluto trailer thing today, and I noped out 30 seconds in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. This is, well, you don't like
excited.
anime, so I'm not going to take that as a challenge.
Yeah,
I'm going to say you're going to like the manga a lot.
But I mean, it just means that I'm thoroughly coming in blind now. I didn't even manage to get through that preview.
Well, like our Chainsaw Man pick, this pick isn't really for you. It's for the internet.
Oh, good, great.
just like Pun Pun.
Very
that worked
motivational,
out.
Chris.
Yeah. Is there a position below last place? I don't really know how to.
I think you'll enjoy it because I think that the storytelling decisions of adapting the original to the new one is so fascinating to me.
As someone who writes Batman, you might appreciate it.
Yeah. Great sales job. All right, who's next?
David?
I'll definitely follow that one. So my pick is out of the ordinary for me. I said I was doing violence manga this season, but there's lots of different kinds of violence. And in this one, a high school girl stays up too late playing video games on the very first page of this book. And by the end of the first page, she dies in a traffic accident. Then it flashes forward to a young girl in a kind of fantasy feudal, like kind of Rosa Versailles sort of setting, who hits her head and realizes, holy crap, I'm the 17-year-old girl who died on this page 1. And as she gets older, like she really remembers like her past life, let's say.
Yeah.
And as she gets older, she starts to realize that the life she's living now is actually the game she stayed up too late playing on the night that she died. And not only that, but she is the villain of the game that she was playing. So she's studying, she's figuring out everything that's going on. She's like, oh, the villain dies at the end. I don't like that at all. So it's her trying to beat her fate after being reincarnated into a world that seems very, very familiar. This is My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. Story by Satoru Yamaguchi, art by Nami Hidaka. And it is our first entry in the isekai genre that we talked about a lot, where normally some loser gets killed and reincarnated into a world where they're like a super hot guy with a lot of like a harem of babes around him. But this one's a little different. It's based around dating sims instead of like base wish fulfillment. And it's more of a shoujo thing. It's more aimed towards women than men, I would say.
Yeah,
so there's less of like the gross like wish fulfillment type stuff.
Yeah.
Super funny, great gimmick. I think it'll be a solid entry into Christopher's favorite genre of manga.
I can't believe you have polluted the podcast with Isekai, and I will never recover from this.
I called this one when I recommended Bleach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you made this happen.
I remember that. Yeah, I thought it was a joke. Sure, all right. No, you know what? I haven't given it a fair shake. It was kind of like when I shit all over Boys Love manga novels. It was roundly chastised for it, and then secretly admitted, yeah, most of them aren't good, but like novels. But yeah, no, let's do it. I'm on board.
All right.
But wait, is Chip? I guess we'll
see.
Okay. So basically, I'm here to be the umeboshi, little palate cleanser, so to speak. After all that.
All right.
All right. So my pick is a genre I think you've enjoyed before, which is romantic comedy for grown-ups.
All right.
Like Tokyo Tarareba Girls. This one's called The Untouchable Midori-kun. It's about a woman. She is a 20-something porn star. She lives in a nice apartment building. She meets her new neighbor. Her new neighbor is a hot guy. Now, the thing is, this hot guy is her childhood friend, who she is reunited with again. But now, instead of the chubby little boy that she used to know, he is a member of a hot pop idol group. So there's this meet cute, right? Like they're now neighbors. They're reunited. And she's like, oh my God, he's hot now. What's up with that? So then he says, yes, I remember you. Yes, I had a crush on you. But don't come near me. Don't touch me. Why? Because I'm an idol. And idols cannot be touched by women because I don't want to ruin the fantasy of all my fans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really cute and hilarious rom-com because he's trying to keep her at arm's length. And she's like, I got to figure out how to lay this guy. and it's really funny too because like she's a porn star, but she's not like a Pamela Anderson porn star. She's basically like a working woman porn star. Like she goes to work, does the sexy thing, and she goes, "Good work, guys," and she's finished work.
Clocks in, clocks out.
Goes to work, clocks in, cocks in.
Clocks out, clocks out.
Yeah.
So I found it super
Cocks in,
hilarious
cocks out.
because it's very sex positive and funny and so matter of fact, but also too because Midori-kun as an idol says things that are very idle and very dashing, and when he does, sparkly roses pop up in back of him, and then sparkle, 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 sparkle. So then it's like, and she's like, "What the hell is this?" Like she's just weirded out by the sparkles and the roses that come out anytime he says something manly and princely. Now, the funny thing is that the roses are characters in the manga too.
Amazing.
So it's just a delight. I think you've read enough shoujo manga now that you've read Rose of Versailles. You know the roses are a big thing. You know the sparklies are the big thing. I just think it's a fun break.
Oh, this is hard because like, yeah, I love David's book. It sounds amazing, and it's a genre we haven't touched on yet, so extra points there. But Deb just rolled out porn star rom-com.
I mean, I would choose Deb personally.
Yeah,
not to put my weight on the balance.
Yeah, this is really hard. I might actually have to. Yeah, I think the order is Deb. Well, it's hard to determine which one's 2 and 3. Oh, David and then Chris. Yeah, I think that's the order.
I like it.
Untouchable, then Villainous, then Pluto.
With Astro Boy. Pluto's pretty good.
With Astro Boy, yeah.
The last book made me cry.
Yeah.
Real tears from a manga.
Book?
Yeah.
Pluto 8. Oh,
Pluto is a
that killed me.
masterpiece. You'll want to read it all.
Twice reading that. There's 2 good scenes, but we're only reading book 1, so don't worry, no waterworks yet.
I'm going to throw it out there that we're nearing the end of Akira. Pluto might be our next season starter and ender.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Urasawa's a genius, and I think we really, on the level of Otomo, and respected as much by Western comics readers. So I think it might be a nice one to take on.
And it is his shortest series, I think. Because, 20th Century Boys is 11 2-in-1 volumes plus an epilogue.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 volumes. It's a win. I wish they had done the reprint on it. I was actually thinking about, what if we recommended a book at the end of the season? That would be the first book for the next season. Because, manga is in print. If we ever recommend it, which is not technically a manga, even though it's got 4 chapters of manga in it, I think it would be just such an amazing foundational work for Chip to read, about the history of manga. But it's a book. It's an actual book. We'd have to give him months to work on it because he's so busy.
You're amazing. after hitting me with Pluto and Astro Boy, and if I want to, I can go on with Volume 2 of Pluto if I feel like it. Now you're just we're going to give you a
300-page novel.
Yeah. I just couldn't do that to Chip. I'm sorry. It's too much of a book.
It's a book. It's a book and a half.
Yeah.
I would read it. I would read it because obviously, I adhere to the rules of Mangasplaining.
You just somehow pick it last.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyone got any shoutouts this week? I shouted out Tokyo Bottom, which is a channel about gay life in Japan, which is pretty fun. That's my recommendation. And I'll specifically shout out the Muscle Cafe anniversary episode that was super fun to watch. It'll be in the show notes. Anybody else?
David, how about you?
It might have been season 1 or 2. We mentioned Katsuya Terada's Rakuga King. And I said that I shouted it out because I thought I saw a reprint of it in a Portland bookstore. It was actually a different book, as a kind listener pointed out to me on Twitter, called Sketch by Katsuya Terada, which I also bought. It's another 500-page sketchbook. It's really awesome. So buy Rakuga King, buy Sketch. They're 2 different books and well worth your time. He's a ferocious artist, and it's just, I don't know. If you like looking at drawings, you'll get a lot out of it.
Agreed.
Nice.
Chip, shout out for you.
No, I've consumed nothing except Ambulance, like the Michael Bay movie on David's recommendation, and I quite liked it. I quite liked it.
When a shout out pays off.
It's amazing. Michael Bay has been making movies long enough that it finally has paid off because now there are drones and he can just fling his cameras around everywhere now. It's awesome. And Jake Gyllenhaal is fun as always.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Deb, what's your shout out?
Let's see. What is my shout out? Let me give that a little thought. My shout out is Oshinoko by
no, really?
Aka Akatsuka and Mango Yokoyari. It's from Young Press.
Wow.
And it blew me away because it was not at all what I thought it was going to be. It looks like an idol manga on the cover. And it's about a pop idol, and she's part of a group, and she's got stars in her eyes. She's really cute and pretty. And she's a little cynical about being an idol. She gets pregnant. We don't know how. We don't know why. But she gets pregnant. She goes off to the countryside. She gives birth to twins. And things go off the rails from there in a way that I just did not expect. It's been on all the Kono Manga ga Sugoi list, best manga of the year list. And I thought to myself, what's going on here, right? Why is this? Is this a jump title? Wait, what's going on here? What makes everyone stand up and pay attention to this book? When I finally read the first volume from Yen Press, and now I get it. It is something else.
Addicting, for sure.
It's up to 10 volumes now in Japan. I don't want to spoil too much because I think it's a genre-busting read that'll blow your mind. It's fun.
Sounds pretty cool.
This is going to be one of the ones that Chip's like, what did you make me read? It's going to be great.
Yeah.
All right.
He's going to hate me for it.
Oh,
but that's okay. I'm ready for that. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Mangasplaining. I thought this was a really fun discussion of my love story, and we've got lots more to come in season 4. 4. So stay tuned. Thanks a lot. This has been Mangasplaining episode 92, My Love Story by Kazune Kawahara and Aruko. Thanks for listening. For our next episode, we'll be discussing Bleach, Volume 1 and Volume 55 by Taito Kubo from Shonen Jump and Viz Media. Want to pick up a copy? Consider supporting your local comic book shop and manga specialty shop. Find one near you at comicshoplocator.com or check out your local library for print and digital lending options. You can also follow along with our complete reading list at mangasplaining.com and check out our newsletter and digital publishing endeavor at mangasplainingextra.com. Thanks to DIDS for their musical accompaniment for this episode.
At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's learning environments are designed for supportive networking and collaboration. With over 330 academic programs, GCU provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.